Young billionaire discovers a poor girl with baby in a snowstorm. His life-changing, heartwarming encounter. Jack Harris was on top of the world. The youngest billionaire in America, he was redefining success in Silicon Valley. But tonight, as a fierce snowstorm howled outside, he felt a gnawing emptiness settle deep in his chest. Missing family birthdays and skipping gatherings had left him hollow. With a sigh, he left his sleek glass office behind, seeking a moment to breathe amidst the chaos of his own ambitions. The biting cold hit him as he stepped onto the snowy streets. Flurries swirled, masking the world in white. Around him, holiday lights blinked cheerfully, but all he felt was isolation. That's when he spotted her, a young woman crouched against a storefront, her grip tight around a bundled baby swaddled against the winter chill. The harsh contrast was striking. His designer coat felt grotesquely out of place next to her battered jacket. Jack's heart raced. She looked so defeated yet held an unyielding spark that intrigued him. "Hey!" he ventured, his voice cutting through the snow. She looked up, eyes wide with surprise and suspicion. He offered his coat, a gesture of warmth he hoped would mean something. She hesitated before taking it, her eyes filled with a mixture of gratitude and disbelief. "Here, this'll help," he added, his hands trembling slightly from the cold more than from fear. Jack settled beside her, their shivers sinking in an odd moment of intimacy on the unforgiving sidewalk. "I'm Jack," he said, almost desperately breaking the silence. Maria, as she introduced herself, spoke of hardships and heartbreak that twisted Jack's gut. She was a single mother, caught in a cycle of struggle, each word laced with longing for a brighter future, in stark contrast to the dream life he built on the other side of the socio-economic divide. As she shared the challenges of keeping hope alive for her child, Jack listened intently. It was as if a light was piercing through the fog of his self-indulgent world. Compassion swirled in his chest, mingling with a sense of shame. This woman, with her raw vulnerability and fierce determination, held the warmth he craved far more than any board meeting or press event ever could. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Jack felt a shift inside him, an irresistible urge to act. It was a moral dilemma wrestling for dominance in his mind. Should he remain in his comfortable bubble, risking social scorn, or reach out to uplift someone like Maria, whose dreams hung by a thread? Could he use the power of his wealth for more than just personal gain? As he began to construct plans that could intertwine their futures, the warmth of connection stirred in him like a slow ember, igniting courage. But suddenly, a familiar face from his business life emerged from the storm, eyebrows raised, casting judgment through the swirling snow. Jack's heart thumped loudly against his ribs. Would he dare to change the path of his life, or retreat into the expected? As the snow fell heavier, Jack stood at a crossroads, one that could define who he truly was beneath the surface of wealth, a question looming in the air, echoing amidst the frenzy of winter. Could he become the catalyst for change, or would he return to the emptiness he'd known all too well? Jack nearly turned away, the instinct to retreat to the warmth and safety of his world clawing at him. But Maria's small frame, shivering slightly as she hugged the baby closer, pulled him back. This was more than a chance encounter. This was a moment that felt crucial to who he might become. The figure approaching was Andy, his childhood friend turned business rival. "Jack Harris?" Andy called out, his voice dripping with disbelief. "What are you doing out here? You're gonna catch pneumonia." Jack felt the weight of expectation press down on him. Andy had always been quick to remind him of the image he needed to uphold. Billionaires didn't mingle with the needy. They stayed in their towers, insulated and untouchable. But instead of stepping back, Jack held his ground, catching Maria's eye for an instant. Her silent plea for understanding anchored him. "I'm helping," Jack said, his voice steady, But inside, he felt like he was teetering on a tightrope between his past and a new path he wasn't sure he could walk. Helping? Andy raised an eyebrow, glancing between Jack and Maria, a smirk twitching at his lips. You mean you're playing savior for the evening? You really should let someone else handle it, he said, waving a dismissive hand. The snow fell heavier around them, muffling the words and adding a sting to the air. It's not one night, Andy. It's about what they need every day. The conviction in Jack's own voice surprised him, as if he were finally awakening to a truth he'd buried under the weight of his wealth. Maria shifted, bringing the baby's head into view. A small tuft of dark hair peeked out from under the blanket, and Jack's heart broke a little more at the sight. This child was someone's world, the embodiment of hope and struggle. What's your baby's name? He asked, unable to resist connecting. Lily, Maria whispered, her eyes softening at the mention of her daughter. She's my everything. The war inside Jack surged yet again. Should he make a grand gesture or keep it simple? He could offer money, resources, everything at his disposal to ease their burden. But something in him realized that this was not just about giving aid. It was about forging connection, understanding, and perhaps even friendship. Listen, he said, stepping slightly closer to Maria. I want to help you both. Not just tonight, but however I can. Maria's eyes widened, a mix of hope and skepticism threading through her gaze. Jack took a deep breath, sensing the gravity of his offer, knowing his world wouldn't understand. Could all blow up in his face, and he might lose more than just Andy's respect. But, suddenly, the thought of returning to the hollow life he'd been living made his stomach turn. Whoever you are in the business world doesn't matter here, not to us, Maria said finally, her voice trembling, yet fierce. Jack nodded, feeling as if the snow had begun to melt a bit. You're right. I need to find a way to be real with you. He hesitated, glancing back at Andy. Wouldn't it be easier to walk away from the discomfort, to defend his status? Jack. Andy interrupted again. This is crazy. Don't let her take advantage of you. For the first time, Jack didn't care if he upset Andy. I can make my own decisions, he replied firmly, meeting Maria's gaze. And I want to know you. I want to help. You deserve better, both of you. The tension hung thick in the air, snowflakes swirling like the uncertainty swirling in Jack's mind. Deep down, he felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps this was the start of something profound, something bigger than business-class debates and boardroom victories. As doubts faded, a promise emerged in his heart. But the shadows drifted back with a soft tremor in Maria's voice. What do you really want, Jack? It was a question that pierced through him, landing with the weight of their circumstances. What if he ventured into a world he barely understood, risking it all for another chance at life? Could he bear the truth of her world, of their world? Jack felt the cold around them deepen as he faced the coming storm both outside and within him. The answer could change everything. I want to find out, he said slowly, the uncertainty weighing heavy on his tongue as Maria's eyes searched his. Jack took a breath, ready to leap into uncharted territory. Because right then, amid the falling snow and dilemma, the flickering flame of possibility began to light a new way forward. Would he dare to step into the unknown and redefine his future, or pull back into the familiar darkness? Jack's breath came in quick, visible puffs as he faced Maria. The weight of her question hung in the air. What did he want? It felt like a simple inquiry, but his heart raced at the complexity. Did he want to save them? Be a part of their lives? Or did he need to find some kind of redemption for a life spent in the confines of his wealth? The snow swirled thicker, soaking their shoes and wrapping them in a cold embrace. Jack's eyes swept back to Andy, who stood there, arms crossed, disbelief etched on his face, as if he were seeing a ghost. You can't be serious, Jack. You'd rather waste your time with this? He pointed dismissively at Maria and Lily. Against his better judgment, Jack stepped closer to Maria. He could feel the warmth radiating from her, even in the cold. What if I told you there's a way we can help each other? He began, sensing his words were as fragile as the snowflakes falling around them. Maria's brow furrowed in confusion. Help each other? With what? You think throwing money our way will solve everything? Her voice was steady now, a wave of determination cutting through her earlier hesitance. Jack nodded, swallowing. It's more than that. I know people, resources. We could collaborate. I could help you find a place to stay, maybe even work opportunities. But I also need guidance. His voice trembled slightly, vulnerability creeping in. I want to understand your life. I want to learn. For a moment, silence stretched between them. Maria's gaze softened, and Jack caught a glimmer of belief. You want to learn about hardship? About struggling for each meal or worrying if there'll be heat in the winter? Who are you really, Jack? Her words struck him with the sting of truth, and he felt a shiver that had nothing to do with the cold. I'm just a man trying to figure things out. I've spent too long in my bubble, and I don't want to live like that anymore. I need more. More? She repeated, skepticism lacing her words, as if she dared him to uncover the motives behind his handsome facade. Yeah, he said softly, the honesty of his mind pouring through. More purpose. More connection. I don't want to be just a figure in my own story. I want to be a part of something real. Jack felt raw, open. His heart laid bare between them. Maria's expression softened. You say you want connection, but you don't know anything about my life. It's hard. Each day is a battle. You're talking about making a change, but does it matter? Jack could see the barriers around her heart, built from years of struggle and pain. He had no idea how to dismantle them, but he needed to try. It matters because I'm here, right now. I want to walk this path with you, Maria. Her brow lifted slightly, a flicker of hope dancing in her eyes. You think it's that easy? You have no idea what we face. Trust is a fragile thing. I know, he replied gently, but I believe in the chance for something better. For both of us. A moment passed, full of unsaid words and possibilities, like a canvas waiting for paint. Would she let him in? Would he dare to bridge the divide between their worlds? Suddenly, a faint wail cut through the chill. Jack and Maria turned simultaneously toward Lily. The baby, bundled but still cold, stirred in Maria's arms, a reminder of their shared reality. Jack shifted closer, instinctively reaching out to touch the edge of the blanket, feeling the tiny warmth trapped within its folds. What if he began, catching Maria's gaze once more? What if we both took a leap? What if I became a part of the solution? Maria stared at him, searching. Do you know how scary that is? Jack's heart raced, the whirlwind of emotions foaming inside him. But, finally, above the echo of doubt, hope rang clear. No, but I want to find out. As the storm raged around them, he could feel the tiniest spark igniting between them, a chance to rewrite the rules. Their worlds had collided in the most unexpected way, and perhaps this was where something new could begin. But still, Maria hesitated, and Jack knew the real challenge was just starting. What would it take to fully break down her walls? What sacrifices awaited them in the cold, hard truth of their realities? Jack's heart drummed heavily as he faced Maria, the cold biting at his skin, urging him to pull back. Yet, he remained anchored in the moment, lost in those deep, questioning eyes that seemed to pierce through his facade. Anxiety twisted his gut, but he felt a flicker of determination push against it. Look, Maria, he started, his breath visible in the chilly air. I'm not pretending to know anything about your struggles. But I want to. I want to see your world through your eyes. Her exhale was visible, a small cloud dissipating into the winter wind. And what do you plan to do with that knowledge, Jack? Dance around our troubles and pick out the prettiest parts? Her voice dripped with skepticism. Jack shook his head, frustration bubbling up. He stepped closer until the distance between them evaporated. No, I didn't mean it like that. I want to help. I know it's crazy, but I see something here. I see you. I want to be more than just some guy with a trust fund. I want to actually make a difference. Maria glanced away, biting her lip, a flicker of indecision passing over her. He could see walls built from years of hardship before her, and it terrified him. He had been shielded from this life, and facing it was both exhilarating and frightening. Jack, she said, collecting her thoughts. You think you can waltz into our lives, bring sunlight and solve our problems? You can't even begin to imagine what it's like, the weight of living day to day, the worry for Lily's future. His heart twisted at the thought of that innocent little girl, bundled up against the cold. I don't want to solve your problems. I want to help lighten the load. Isn't that worth something? She looked at him, surprised, the hardness in her expression softening just a fraction. This was progress, he felt it in the air. But as quickly as it stirred, doubt clouded her eyes again. And what happens when you give up? When it becomes too much? I want to give up. The words tumbled out more confidently than he felt. I want to be here. For both of you. He offered a tentative smile. Perhaps it would connect them. Moments ticked by, and the snow continued to fall, wrapping them in silence. Maria's fingers fiddled with the edge of Lily's blanket, her thoughts visibly swirling. Jack could sense her heart waging war with her instincts, her desire to protect, and the glimmer of hope he presented. All right, she said finally, a determination setting in. If you really want to step into our lives, you'll need to understand it fully. We struggle every day, but we're still here. We don't back down easily. A flood of relief washed through him. I can do that, he breathed, heart swollen with admiration. Just tell me where to start. But just then, a loud shout cut through the tranquility, a voice that made Maria's demeanor stiffen. Andy had approached, breaking into their fragile moment. What is this, a charity event? You think you can help them? He scoffed, his anger palpable like the cold. Jack turned, irritation mixing with concern. Andy, this isn't your business. This is between me and Maria. Maybe it's just you that's lost, Jack. A rich kid pretending to understand what life really is. His words sliced through the air, and Jack felt the sting of truth hitting him like a slap. Maria's face went pale, caught between loyalty and curiosity. Jack's hands balled into fists at his sides. He wasn't ready for this confrontation, yet he felt the familiar fire of rebellion ignite within. I'm not pretending. I'm here because I want to be. There's more to life than wealth. Can't you see that? Andy stepped closer, his expression darkening, like a storm brewing. You don't know what you're asking for. You think it's about gallivanting in and saving the day? You're going to regret it. Tension curled between them, as tight as a spring, and Jack felt the air thicken. The stakes were rising, and he couldn't back down, not now. I'll take that risk, he said firmly, looking back at Maria. I want to see exactly how deep this goes. As she held his gaze, uncertainty flickered in her eyes, but a spark of something else intertwined, perhaps belief. Above all, she seemed to ponder the unknown path that lay ahead. But before either could speak again, a sudden gust of wind picked up, howling around them, piercing the silence. Jack steeled himself against the cold, adrenaline surging. There was a storm brewing not just outside, but within them as well. What would Andy do next? Would Maria truly let him in? Or was he just another lost cause in her unpredictable world? Jack felt every heartbeat sound louder amidst the chaos of Andy's anger. The biting wind knifed through the stillness, scattering snowflakes wildly, the atmosphere charged like a frayed wire. He could feel Maria's tension radiating beside him. She stood, tall and tense, wrestling with the storm inside her that mirrored the one outside. Andy, Maria said calmly, the strength in her voice surprising Jack. You don't know what you're talking about. She had shifted her focus, a silent shift of power as she turned to face her accuser. This is my life. My daughter's life. You don't get to dictate who can or cannot care. Jack caught a hint of admiration for Maria's spirit in that moment. This was the woman he wanted to support, the one who fought against life's relentless battles every day. A leer crept over Andy's face, but it faltered, just for an instant. Oh, so you're in on this now? He scoffed, looking between them. What's next, Jack? Handing out money like candy? You think that LL fix anything? That's the easy way out. I don't want to give handouts, Jack replied with measured control. I want to understand how to help. That's different. Understanding? You think you can just walk in here and understand? Andy challenged, crossing his arms. You'll never belong. They'll always see you just as, well, as you. You don't fit into this world. The truth stung, and Jack felt that pinprick of doubt creep back in, but he quickly shook it off. Belonging isn't about fitting into a mold. It's about finding purpose. It was said more to himself than to Andy, but the words resonated deeply within him. Maria took a small step forward, her eyes locked onto Jack's. Tell me you really mean that. There was an intensity in her gaze that sent a shiver through him. The moment felt suspended, fragility threatening to shatter it. I do, he affirmed, reaching for her hand, feeling the warmth of her skin despite the cold that surrounded them. I'm choosing to be here, choosing to be involved. I want to make a real difference. In that second, the world blurred around them. Maria's eyes momentarily brightened, a flicker of hope glimmering through the storm. Jack could see her heart wrestling with acceptance, and for that brief moment, he thought she might finally let him in. But then, as if on cue, Andy erupted again. You know who you're dealing with, Jack? A lost soul and a little girl. It's your call, but don't claim to be some kind of savior when you're just looking for a project. Enough, Maria shouted, surprising them both with the force of her voice. You don't get to speak for me, Andy. I fought for every bit of this life, and I will not stand here while you bully me. Jack's not my enemy. Jack watched her stand up for herself, the edges of uncertainty sharpening into something new courage. This was the Maria he wanted beside him, the one who would resist the chains of the past for a better future. Then stand beside me, Jack urged, his voice dripping with sincerity. What if I take your hand and you drop it? Maria stepped closer, vulnerability mixing with defiance. What if you don't stick around? I'll promise you this, Jack said, his gaze unwavering. If I say I'm going to be here, I will be. I'm not just offering empty words. As her breath hitched, silence enveloped them again. It was a moment steeped in uncertainty, the crisp air humbling them as expectations floated overhead. But before either could fully grasp the weight of the moment, the chilly wind surged again, effortlessly reminding them of a world that was still spinning. It stirred new worries within Jack. Would Maria really take a chance on him? Would she see him as more than just a passing whim, someone from a different world entirely? Before he could vocalize his thoughts, Andy lunged forward again, anger blazing in his eyes. You think you can just take her away from me? This isn't a game, Jack. You can ruin everything. The stakes skyrocketed just as their emotions clashed in the frigid air, and Jack felt the fierce heat of anger boiling within. Standing next to Maria, he knew he had to protect this connection, to fight for her, to see the possibility of love and change even against the icy winds of doubt and fear. As Andy closed in, ready to unleash more venom, Jack took a deep breath, readying himself for whatever came next. Would he be strong enough to stand tall against the tempest coming their way? With a determined heart, he faced the storm. But how could he prepare for the unexpected devastation brewing around them? Jack's heart pounded in his chest, adrenaline surging through him as he braced himself for Andy's next move. The cold air felt sharper now, mirroring the tension that sliced through the atmosphere like a knife. He quickly searched Maria's face, looking for guidance, but all he saw was steadfast determination. Back down, Jack warned Andy, his voice steadier than he felt. You need to stop this. It's not about you. Oh really? Then what is it about? Andy shot back, disbelief lacing his words. Is this some kind of charity case for you? Because you've got it all wrong. You don't know anything about this life. Jack's fists clenched at his sides, but he bit back the retort bubbling up inside him. He had to keep his cool for Maria's sake. The last thing he wanted was to escalate this into something even messier. The wind howled, carrying the sound of other voices, but in this moment, it was like they were in a bubble, isolated from everything except for their emotional stakes. Maria. He turned to her, capturing her gaze. This isn't about me trying to save anyone. It's about standing together. You and me against whatever comes next. Her eyes softened for an instant, and Jack felt a flicker of hope ignite between them. But it was quickly extinguished as Andy laughed, all bitterness and scorn. You think you can just swoop in and save the day? What makes you so special? Maybe it's not about being special, Jack replied, his voice lower but firm. Maybe it's about being real. Being here when it counts. The tension hung heavy in the air, pulsating like a heartbeat as Maria stepped closer to Jack. I need someone real, Jack. Someone who understands the weight of this world. Her voice cracked slightly, but she pushed through. Someone who won't disappear when the storms get too fierce. In this small, quiet moment, something shifted between them. Jack could see her searching for reassurance, a flicker of trust battling with fear in her eyes. Before Jack could respond, Andy's presence loomed over them like a storm cloud. You're fooling yourself, Maria. Look around. This isn't a fairy tale. There are no saving heroes here, just desperate people trying to survive. Jack took a step forward, his resolve hardening. Maria is not desperate. She is brave. What she is doing for her daughter is nothing short of heroic. Heroic? Andy scoffed, the disdain clear in his tone. I see tears and fear, Jack. Do you really think that is enough? As Jack's patience wore thin, Maria's hand found his, grounding him just as he felt the urge to confront Andy head-on. Enough of this, Maria shouted, her voice breaking the crushing silence that had settled over them. Enough of your fear-mongering. I won't let you dictate my life anymore. Jack's heart soared at her words, the strength in her voice making him believe in the possibility of a new beginning. This wasn't just about fighting back against Andy. It was about claiming her future, one where they both had a chance. In that moment, they stood united, two souls against the storm, unearthing a budding connection forged in chaos. But just then, a distant cry pierced through the air, a shrill note that sent shivers through Jack's spine. Is that? Maria's eyes widened, fear shadowing her features. Andy's expression morphed into concern, confusion washing over his features as they all turned towards the source of the sound. Is someone in trouble? Jack's voice crackled with urgency as he pulled Maria closer, prepared to face whatever lay ahead. But as they peered into the swirling snow, the reality of the situation loomed large. The storm had brought more than just tumult. It had brought an unforeseen challenge that could change everything. The high-pitched cry echoed again, a desperate plea slicing through the blustering wind. Jack's heart raced as he scanned the frozen landscape, his breath visible in the frigid air. The fear etched on Maria's face mirrored his own rising concern. Stay close, he instructed, keeping a firm grip on her hand as they moved forward. But just as they began to step away from the confrontation, Andy's voice rang out, laced with unease. What if it's a trap, Jack? Andy questioned, the bravado fading from his tone. It was a genuine concern, and for a split second, Jack felt the weight of the decision hanging in the air. They were tangled in a web of past grievances, but now, a life might be at stake outside their feud. I'm not leaving someone out there, Jack replied firmly, ignoring the chill that crept deeper into his bones. He pushed forward, driven by an instinct that dared him to hope for something beyond their current predicament. Together, they ventured further into the snow, Jack leading and Maria right behind him, her breath shaky but resolute. As they crossed a small rise, Jack's eyes widened. In the distance, barely visible through the raging storm, a small figure lay huddled, an unmistakable outline of a child curled against a tree. Look, Jack shouted, urgency propelling him. He broke into a sprint, his boots crunching through the thick snow. Maria followed, her heart pounding with both fear and determination as they closed the distance. The details became clearer. It was a girl, maybe 5 or 6, shivering uncontrollably, clutching something to her chest. The child looked up, wide-eyed and terrified. Please, her voice trembled, a fragile whisper carried off on the wind. Help me, my baby brother, he is cold. Maria inhaled sharply, her instinct to protect roaring to life. We have to get them out of here. Jack nodded, kneeling beside the child. What is your name? He asked gently, trying to soothe the fear that clung to her. Lily, she stammered, her small hands shaking as she pointed back. He is under the tree. I tried to keep him warm. Without hesitation, Jack turned towards the tree where Lily indicated. Anxiety twisted in his gut as he knelt and scanned the area. Then, he spotted a tiny bundle nestled against the trunk. "Got him," he murmured, wrapping his arms around the little boy, instantly feeling the cold radiate through the layers of fabric. Here. Maria rushed to his side, noticing how weak the baby felt against Jack's chest. She instinctively took the child from him, cradling him gently. "He needs warmth. We need to move," Jack urged, glancing back at Lily. Her wide eyes were filled with dread and worry. "I can't leave Mommy," she said, tears streaming down her cheeks, freezing in the cold wind. "Your mommy wants you to be safe," Maria said, her voice breaking with emotion. "We'll find her, I promise. But we need to go right now." The storm howled around them, but Maria's words reached Lily. The girl's small nod felt like a glimmer of hope, igniting a flicker of determination in the darkness as they started to retreat. The wind seemed intent on keeping them trapped in the elements. Jack kept scanning the snow, desperate to catch a glimpse of who else might be out there, someone who might still be trapped not just from the storm, but from the past that hung like a shadow over all of them. But just as they began their trek back, a low, rumbling sound echoed through the air. A sense of dread washed over Jack. It wasn't just the storm that they were battling. They were about to face something far more sinister that loomed on the horizon. What was that? Maria's voice trembled as she glanced up, her grip tightening on Lily and the little boy. Jack looked away from the trees, his eyes narrowing as he tried to decipher the danger approaching them. "I don't know, but we need to hurry." Little did they know, the coming threat would unearth old alliances and force them to confront the truth about themselves they had both tried to bury. Would they be strong enough to face it together? Jack felt the rush of the cold air stinging his face, but it was nothing compared to the urgency clenching his gut. He started to move faster, pushing Maria and the children ahead of him. Each step through the snow felt like a battle not just against nature, but against the secrets they hadn't faced. "Let us keep going. Don't look back," he urged, feeling the weight of the little boy in Maria's arms. She moved with shaking determination, her focus sharp even amidst the chaos. Lily, on the other hand, was filled with a sense of loss. Jack could see the flicker of fear in her eyes, a silent question begging for reassurance. "Your mom will be okay, Lily. We'll find her. Just trust us," he said, trying to sound confident, though dread gnawed at him. They were navigating through a world that had become unrecognizable, where every sound in the distance made his heart skip. But then, there it was again, that rumbling. A deep growl that seemed to shake the very ground beneath their feet, and it wasn't coming from the storm. Jack turned, his eyes scanning the tree line behind them. The shadows seemed to deepen, almost mocking their struggle. "What's out there?" He felt Maria's grip tighten on the baby, her gaze darting with anxiety. "We need to keep moving," she insisted, urgency clawing at her tone. "They might not be far behind," Andy whispered, eyes wide with fear. Panic rippled through him, a stark contrast to how Jack felt just seconds ago. "We can't let them catch up." Jack nodded, spurred forward. "Okay, we split up. Maria, take Lily and the baby. Head for the old barn on the other side of the valley. It should provide some shelter." "Wait, no. I'm not leaving you." Maria grasped his arm. Her eyes glistened, as if the thought of separation brought tears to the forefront. "This is the plan," Jack replied firmly, though his heart ached with the weight of his own words. "We need to do this for them." His gaze shifted to Lily, whose cheeks were streaked with frozen tears. "Just stay put until I can find you," he said, emphasizing his resolve despite the protest brewing inside him. It wasn't a choice he wanted to make, but time was running out. "Fine, but be careful." Maria's voice was a mix of determination and worry, and Jack could see she wanted to break down into chaos, but she steadied herself as they turned from one another. The cries of the storm grew louder, but in that moment, the world shrunk down to the two of them. They shared a final look, a silent promise that they would return to each other, no matter what awaited them in the chaos. Then, with one last silent nod, they went their separate ways. Lily's little hand squeezed Maria's tightly as they carefully made their way toward the barn. Each crunch of the snow beneath their feet echoed loudly in the stillness, reminding them that danger lurked in every shadow. Behind them, Jack took a breath, pushing aside the fear. He moved through the trees with purpose, every instinct screaming that they were not alone. The wind howled, urging him forward and warning him of whatever pursued. And then he heard it again, the rumbling. Closer. The shadows shifted, and Jack stopped, heart racing. Suddenly, a figure emerged, clad in dark gear, their eyes glinting with malice. Jack took a step back instinctively, the real horror of their situation dawning on him. "What do you want?" he demanded, but deep down he felt the weight of his own doubts. Sometimes, the fiercest monsters weren't the ones hiding in the dark but the faces hiding behind familiar masks. The figure took a step forward, and Jack felt ice creep up his spine. Not just from the cold, but from the revelation that something much worse than the storm was closing in. What he thought was a heroic rescue was beginning to unravel into something insidious, connecting threads from his past he never thought he'd confront again. Jack's breath came in sharp, icy bursts as he faced the figure. The familiar outline now twisted into something sinister, morphing into a reminder of a shadowy past he thought he had outrun. "Jack," the voice was low, smooth as silk but dripping with malice. "You didn't think you could just leave, did you?" His heart raced, pounding like a drum in a desperate march. Every instinct screamed for him to take off, to find Maria and the kids. But fear rooted him to the spot. He needed to buy time to learn how deep this betrayal ran. "Carter," Jack replied, struggling to keep his voice steady. The name felt bitter on his tongue. It had been years since he had seen him, years since their paths had diverged until now. "What are you doing here?" "The same thing as you." Carter's lips twisted into a mockery of a smile. "I'm just trying to help or hinder. Depends on how you look at it." He stepped closer, shadows enveloping him, the darkened trees framing this encounter like a grim theater. Jack clenched his fists. Behind Carter, shadows shifted, creating the illusion of more figures lurking just outside of view. The rumbling couldn't just stem from the storm. It was as if the very forest was alive, a beast coiling around, the tension thickening in the air. "Get away from me," Jack warned, finding his voice through the ice that gripped his insides. "No more power games. Not when Maria and the kids were out there thinking he was keeping them safe." "But I can't do that. Not yet. You see, there's something I want, and it's closely tied to all that drama you're in right now." Jack's stomach dropped, his mind racing through every option. This wasn't just about him anymore. It was about protecting his family. He thought of Maria, of Lily, and all that they'd sacrificed to keep moving forward. "Whatever it is, you can't have it. You're out of your league," he said, the conviction in his voice surprising even him. Despite the shadows lengthening and the stakes rising, he felt a flicker of defiance light within him. Carter's expression shifted to something darker, more predatory. "You think it's just about you? You're in the middle of something much bigger than yourself, Jack. That sweet life you've built? It has a price." He took a step forward, and the air crackled with tension. Jack grappled with conflicting emotions: fear, anger, the urgency to shield what mattered most. As dismissive as Carter sounded, Jack could practically feel the encroaching danger, closing in like a vice. "Just leave them out of it," Jack shouted, the desperation breaking through. "I won't let you hurt them." For a moment, silence hung in the air like a lowered curtain, pausing the world between breaths. "It's too late for that," Carter replied, a chilling smile spreading across his face. "You can't save them, Jack. And soon you'll understand the truth of what I mean." Before Jack could react, Carter turned, melting back into the shadows, a specter lost to the night. Jack stood frozen at the edge of reality, grappling with the threat that loomed not just over him, but over his family. With renewed urgency, he forced himself to move, pushing through the snow toward the barn. Each footfall felt heavier with the weight of what he now had to confront. But in the back of his mind, Carter's words echoed ominously, gnawing at him what truth was out there, waiting to unfold. As Jack trudged on, he couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of a nightmare he hadn't yet begun to fathom. What secrets lay in wait at the end of this pursuit, and how would he face them when they came crashing down? The wind howled mercilessly as Jack charged through the snow, his heart racing with a mix of fear and determination. Maria was out there, along with Lily and the baby. He had to find them. He could feel the weight of Carter's taunts lingering in the back of his mind, but he pushed it away. This was about more than him now that he stumbled through the snow, his breath coming in ragged gasps as he approached the old barn. The structure loomed ahead, a refuge against the storm, but darkness lingered within it. Jack hesitated for just a moment, scanning the perimeter for any signs of danger. They were out of time. He needed to keep moving. As he stepped inside the barn, the smell of hay and wood hit him. It was dim, but enough light filtered through to reveal Maria, a bundle of warmth, holding the baby tightly while Lily clung to her side. Relief washed over him, but it was quickly replaced by the urgency of the moment, the storm still battering against the walls. "Jack!" Maria exclaimed, her eyes wide with anxiety. "What took you so long?" "I had to find out if we were being followed. We need to stay alert." He glanced over his shoulder, ensuring that the shadows were empty before stepping inside fully. "Where are Lily and the baby?" "They're safe for now, but we can't stay here long." Maria's voice was firm, her strength unwavering even amidst the storm. Jack marveled at her resilience, a fire burning brightly despite the circumstances. It grounded him. "Let us move then," he urged, pulling them both closer. "We need to get out of here before things get worse." As they began to formulate a plan, the rumbling outside shifted from the storm to something more menacing. Jack's heart dropped. "We can't wait. We have to go now." He felt urgency pouring into his veins. "No," Maria said suddenly, placing a hand on his chest. "We can't run blindly. We need a strategy. We need to know what we're up against." The air crackled as tension sparked between them. Jack's thoughts turned to Carter, to his threats that loomed over their heads like a storm cloud. "You're right, but I can't let anything happen to you or the kids," he said, his voice softening. "I won't lose you." Maria looked deep into Jack's eyes, searching for something. "You're not going to. We'll get through this. Together." The conviction in her voice sent a rush of warmth through him. Hope was flickering brighter, even in the face of peril. "We should barricade the doors," Jack said, snapping back into action. "If someone comes looking for us, we have to be ready." They quickly moved through the barn, gathering whatever materials they could find, ensuring that they could hold their ground as they worked side by side. Jack felt a connection growing, forged by shared fears and a mutual desire for protection. The urgency among them was palpable, but so was the strength. "What if he comes for the baby?" Lily's small voice permeated the noise, her innocence ringing like a bell. Jack knelt down, looking her straight in the eyes. "Lily, you have to be brave for your brother. We're all going to protect him, okay?" She nodded, though her eyes were wide with uncertainty. "Okay." Suddenly, the faint sounds of footsteps crunched through the snow outside. Maria's face drained of color. Jack felt a cold knot form in his stomach. "Stay quiet." He glanced at Maria, and they both instinctively moved closer together as the footsteps neared. Jack braced himself. The door trembled against the wind, making it feel as if all their fears were trying to seep inside. The moments dragged on, heartbeats echoing inside their chests. Then, the door creaked not with the wind, but with someone pushing it from the other side. Jack and Maria exchanged a quick glance of fear. This was it. With a swift motion, Jack steadied himself, ready to confront whatever came through that door. If Carter thought he could break them, he was in for a fight. The door swung open violently, revealing more than just the storm. Carter stepped inside, flanked by two figures. But this wasn't just an entry. It was a declaration of war. The tension was electric, crackling in the air as Jack faced off against ghosts from his past and present. "Did you really think you could just walk away?" Carter smirked, eyes gleaming with malice as he surveyed them. It wasn't just Jack he intended to intimidate. He was threatening everyone inside. "Leave them out of this, Carter," Jack shouted, refusing to let the raw panic settle in. "This is between you and me." Carter chuckled darkly. "You think this is just about you? It never was. These lives, he pointed towards Maria and the children, they're just collateral. Fear surged through Jack, but he refused to back down. He stepped protectively in front of Maria and the kids, anger bubbling just beneath the surface. They were not just collateral, they were everything. I won't let you hurt them. You have no idea what you're up against. Jack's voice was steady, filled with an urgency that had everyone standing a little taller. He felt Maria's hand squeeze his, a silent vow that they would go down fighting together. Their eyes locked for a moment, and Jack realized that whatever happened next, they would face it as one. Together, they could dismantle the darkness that attempted to suffocate them. Carter's expression hardened as he sensed the resolve among them. Behind him, the two figures stepped forward, revealing faces twisted with intent. Jack felt a surge of adrenaline. This was their moment, fight or flight. Now, he shouted, turning back to Maria, get the kids safe. As chaos erupted around them, Jack charged forward, ready to face whatever awaited them to protect not just their lives, but the hope for a brighter future. With bravery and conviction pounding in his heart, Jack knew that they would rewrite their story together, one fierce moment at a time. Their hands intertwined, he and Maria would not simply survive. They would rise anew, claiming their lives and their love against the backdrop of an unforgiving storm. This was not just a battle against the darkness outside. It was a chance to embrace the light they had found within each other. Nothing could stand in their way. Together, they would take on the world, and they would emerge transformed. Now, more than ever, they stood united not just as allies, but as a family. Head held high, Jack stepped into the unknown, ready to face the fight of their lives. This was their moment, and they wouldn't shy away from it. The storm could come, they would meet it head-on. Jack felt hope swell within him, fierce and undeniable. You need to subscribe now to catch the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about this thrilling ending below. And for real, share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Only true fans understand how crucial it is to support this channel with your actions.